Hey everyone, welcome back for another healthy cooking class. My name is Kate Watts. I'm a registered dietitian with Cone Health, and we have our guest chef, Miss Lynn Wells of Time Well Spent. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself and what she has prepared for us this evening. So thanks so much, Lynn, and for all of our attendees joining us tonight. Lynn, you can take it away.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Kate, and welcome everyone. My name's Lynn Wells. I'm a native of Greensboro and actually worked at Cone Health for about 21 years. And so you all are near and dear to my heart. I feel like we're all family. I'm a personal chef here in Greensboro. I have private clients that I cook for and also do some Zoom classes and culinary classes. And I'm honored and very humbled to work with Our State Magazine as food writer and also recipe developer. So if you pick up that magazine, I usually have some recipes in the front of the magazine each month. So happy to be here. I'm also a former registered dietitian. I say former because I intentionally let my licensure lapse, thinking I would never be back in the food business again. So here I am, but I always tell folks I'm a former dietitian, which takes any pressure off of me giving you any medical or medical advice as far as food goes. But I'm, being a foodie since I was about 6 years old and cooking with my mom, and actually have still using her cast iron skillet. So, I'm just happy to be here. So let's get started on some vegetarian chili. If you're like me, I'm a weather buff and I watch the weather. And so rumor has it that Saturday and Sunday, we've got a cold front coming in. And so it's fun. I'm on Facebook, and every now and then when the weather gets cold, Facebook lights up with people showing pictures of their pots of chili. So this is a really basic vegetarian chili. I'm going to talk about some variations that you can do with the recipe, but this is super easy. And because I, don't have several cameras or a stovetop set up, I've gone ahead and done some of the sauteing, if you will. But in my and if you don't have a cast iron skillet, that's fine. You can use a shallow skillet. You can even use the soup pot or chili pot or a Dutch oven to do all of this. But I just went ahead and I added the olive oil. You can also use avocado oil or vegetable oil, and then put your chopped onions in and a couple of bay leaves. And bay leaves, I love the smell. Now, if you have bay leaves at home and they don't have any scent to them, you need to throw them away and get you some fresh ones. And that goes for all of your spices. Check the dates. You want to cook with really fresh spices and seasonings. And bay leaves are they remind me of fall. So those go in the onion pan while they're sauteing. And then I added a little bit of salt. When you add salt to onions that are cooking, that helps to release some of the moisture and will help them caramelize a little bit better. And then I went ahead and I may be jumping, out of order for the recipe, but I went ahead and added the chopped celery and the the yellow bell pepper. And I'm going to just, not to insult anyone's intelligence, but I'm going to just do a few little knife skills, if you will, and show you how I cut a green pepper. There's no right or wrong. I grew up, cutting it this way, and I would watch mom, tear the core out. And then this is just a little bit easier because I find that I cut it in strips a lot of times. So I'm just gonna, use my sharp knife. Always keep your knife sharp as much as possible. And you're gonna get this nice little core, if you will, with the stem, and save that in piece. And then you just toss this in the trash can, or you could keep this for soup. Now, if you've noticed, some people don't like green bell peppers. They have a very different flavor from the yellow, orange, and red sweet bell peppers. So if you don't like green bell peppers, you can substitute it or leave them out. But what I'm going to do, since I've cored the pepper, I'm just going to keep my fingers tucked in and use my knife to cut these nice thin strips, if you will. I don't know if you can see that. And then you just line up all of your strips in one direction on the cutting board. And that way you get a nice chop. It's just super, super easy. So I just wanted to, hold that step for you and show you that. And then of course I'll put those in the skillet to saute. I'll just save this for the next step. And I mentioned celery earlier. I love using these celery leaves. I use them as garnish. I also just chop them up. But they make a nice, if you can buy the stalk, and with a lot of these celery leaves, just keep them chilled in the refrigerator. They're just a real mild edible garnish at the end. So I wanted to mention that. So once your onions and your peppers and celery have sauteed, you want the onions to sort of be clear or translucent. Then I'll add the 3 cloves of garlic. And there's nothing at all wrong with buying the garlic that's already been peeled. I would probably do that before I would buy the jar garlic. Just personal preference. This is fresh that I peeled, and you want to put the garlic in after the vegetables have sauteed, and you're not going to want to cook the garlic very long. You don't want it to burn. So if the garlic burns, it's going to make the whole dish bitter. Then I'm going to want to demonstrate cutting the jalapeno pepper. And again, if this is too hot for you, then leave it out. However, if you like a little heat, you could add not only the jalapeno pepper, but you could add some ground cayenne pepper. Maybe start out with a half a teaspoon for this whole recipe, or you could add hot sauce. But again, the jalapeno pepper is one of the mildest. It's not the mildest, but it's one of the mildest peppers. And guess what? I'm going to do that just like I did the green bell pepper. Now, if you are super sensitive to peppers, I would suggest using, if you have food service gloves, this powder free, you can get them. I don't know if you can get them at the grocery store, but just make sure you don't rub your eyes after you cut the jalapeno pepper. So I'm doing it the same way. It's just pretend it's a much smaller green bell pepper. Did the same thing. I cut it in strips, and now I've got a fine dice. And the closer you keep that knife to your fingers, tucked of course, then you'll have a nice mince and they'll be super fine. And remember that the heat is in the seeds. So the seeds are what holds the heat. So that seed pod, you'll want to discard that. And then you're left with a nice mild jalapeno pepper. All right, so we've got our onions. You're more than welcome to do red bell pepper or red sweet bell pepper. And then we're going to add our seasonings. Now I have already mixed up the chili powder and the cumin and the oregano. I've already mixed all of that up. There is light. Now, usually when you go to the grocery store, you just see chili powder. But if you were to go to a place like Savory Spice Shop or order your spices online, there will be light chili powder, medium chili powder, and hot. And those are, of course, based, the heat level. So this is a light, mild chili pepper. And this is when your kitchen starts really smelling good. I wish we had smell-o-vision. But this is going to make, with the bay leaves in there and the onions, sweet aroma, and then you add these spices. Oh, that is just going to fill the kitchen with the best aromas. My mom always told me that if a young bride cooks an onion when her husband comes home from work, then he will think you've been cooking all day. And it is the truth. I'll be in the kitchen of a client's house and I'll just be cutting an onion and cooking it, and they come down, oh, this smells so good. And I don't tell them I haven't even started yet. All I've done is saute an onion. So you can see the nice, rich rust color that seasonings have made, in that skillet. And now I'm just going to sort of change over, like I said earlier, you can do all of this in your big chili pot or soup pot. But I have it right here. So this is my pot of tomatoes. Now this recipe calls for 3 cans of whole peeled tomatoes. This is they're each 28 ounces, and I am going to give you a little teach a little fact about San Marzano tomatoes. Now these will cost more in the grocery store. I found them a really good price at Target. They're usually on the bottom shelf. They come from Italy. The tomatoes are grown in volcanic soil in Italy at the base of Mount Vesuvius. And a little history lesson. There's even a map of Italy on the label. And this is all the chefs, all the cooks, home cooks, it doesn't matter. Once you've had these, they're sweet and they are very low acidic, and they're almost shaped like a plum tomato. But I use these 3 cans are in here and they're whole. So here we go. Your best cooking tools are right here, your hands. So make sure you wash your hands really good. And then you can do this ahead of time. Take a big mixing bowl, dump your 3 cans of San Marzano tomatoes, and just start crushing them with your hands. Crush them up real good. That way you'll have some chunks. And then if you want to get it really smooth and you don't want the chunks, by all means, you could use a blender or one of those emulsion blenders, on a stick. So I've got the tomatoes in here in the pot. And now we are going to add all of our delicious vegetables and spices, and the 2 bay leaves are included. We haven't taken those out yet. You want to be sure to take them out before you serve the chili though. Otherwise, somebody will pull out a whole bay leaf, and you can, if that happens, just tell them they want a prize. So this is a nice, lovely, nice thick chili, and you're going to, I believe the recipe says to cook this for, some time ahead. And one of my favorite little secrets, if you will, I buy a couple of bottles of this whenever I'm at the store. It's balsamic vinegar glaze. Now you could make this at home with half of the cost. It's just balsamic vinegar that has been simmered on the stove to reduce into like a syrup consistency. And if you're watching your salt, vinegars and herbs and citric juices are the best way to enhance flavors if you have to watch your salt. So this will give it a nice, rich, sweetens it just a little bit, but not too much. And I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna measure anything. Do, I think, a couple tablespoons. I actually use this straight from the bottle, like on grilled chicken or grilled vegetables. There's no calories, hardly at all. And, glazed balsamic vinegar. It's just balsamic vinegar syrup. Think of that. So we've got all of this simmering on the stove. And now I'm going to add 2 cans of dark red kidney beans. You can use pinto beans and the black beans. And I've already drained them and rinsed them. So I'm going to put that in here. It's not even heating up, and I can already imagine what it's going to smell like. So this is there's not a lot of vegetables in here. So if you want to enhance this and add more vegetables, I would say you could add carrots. And if you add carrots, just slice them up and saute them in the skillet or in your pot, maybe before the onions, since they take a little longer. You could add, I think the zucchini is still coming in. Zucchini probably going to be coming in until November. But you could take the zucchini and just cut it lengthwise, and then cut it lengthwise again. So you've got lengthwise quartered zucchini, and then just chop it up and saute that. You could use some yellow summer squash. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite things to put in this chili, if you want a little bit extra fiber, is butternut squash. That cut up into cubes and put in this vegetable chili. It's pretty and it tastes good. And like I said, it adds another element of fiber and good vitamins. So this is it. And then once you've got all the ingredients, you're going to simmer this for about 45 minutes. This freezes really well, so you can make this ahead. And if you have any meat lovers at home, you can make this as a base and then ground the beef or ground the turkey or whatever you're adding to it. And let's say you want the vegetarian chili and say the kids want meat. Well, just cook the meat and then add that per serving to the vegetables, or you can add it in and serve this up with some nice Southern cornbread, and you've got a wonderful heart healthy meal in really less than an hour. So let's serve this up. Yum. I like saltines also, so saltines will work. And then, like I said, just garnish this with some celery leaves, and I love cilantro. So we've got these two, and I'll just bring this up for a little zoom close up. But there you've got vegetarian chili, 3-bean chili with celery, sweet bell peppers, onion, oregano, chili powder, cumin, jalapeno pepper if you choose. Now, if you really want to, I don't know where this saying came from, but if you really want to doctor it up, you could add a little bit of sour cream. You could add a little bit of Greek yogurt. You could add some chopped up avocado, would be delicious. One of my favorite things is to take some Greek yogurt and avocado and maybe a little bit of salt and lime juice and just mix that up, sort of like just mash it up, get it real smooth, and put a little dollop of that on your chili, and it's great. This also, like say second or third day, it's always tastes better then. You could add this to get a flour tortilla and put some chili on there and some shredded cheese and roll it up. You could bake it in the oven for some vegetarian enchiladas, and it would be really, really good. So I hope that you will give this recipe a try. It is, like I said, super easy, and it can go either vegetarian with a lot more vegetables in it. This is pretty basic, but it's delicious. Salt it as needed, depending on what your sodium intake is. And it's always, like I said, you can freeze it and enjoy it with some ground beef, ground pork, ground turkey, whatever you like, if you so choose. So we look forward to getting your questions, and hope you'll make a big pot this weekend with the cooler weather coming.
Thank you so much, Lynn. That was wonderful. Great tips. So important about the jalapeno seeds, not letting those get in there if you don't like much spice. So I really enjoyed that. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about some just more nutrition-based, really just encouraging you to try this recipe because there's some good stuff in this recipe. So I'm going to talk about nutrition for a minute, and then I'm going to take some questions for Lynn or myself. So if you would like, at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you have some options. If you want to talk, if you'd like to ask your question out loud, click the raise hand button. And then when I'm done talking and we're taking questions, I can allow you to speak. I'll take you off mute. You can also type in your questions in the chat box, or with the Q&A button that you can click there, you can type in a question. So a couple things about this vegetarian chili for fall and for winter. I want to talk first about the beans, because beans are a nutrition powerhouse. And we really encourage, as nutritionists, we encourage our folks to eat beans 2 to 3 times per week. So 2 to 3 servings of beans per week. And something like this, you're getting multiple servings in one dish. And then, of course, it's great for leftovers, easy to freeze, easy to repurpose into new dishes, as Lynn pointed out. So you can, spend some time cooking a large dish and have multiple meals with these really nutritious beans as really the bulk of this dish. And so what's so great about beans? Why do we push this in the nutrition world? Well, they are a wonderful plant-based source of protein. And so we talk about the importance of protein. Some folks really enjoy a high protein diet, especially if they're following various fad diets kind of out there. So beans do have carbohydrates in them. They wouldn't be a great protein choice for a very low carb diet, but for a low carb, a moderate carbohydrate diet, like something that someone managing their blood sugar would be following, they're an excellent option as your carbohydrate because they're high in that protein that balances the carbohydrate so that blood sugar is not going to spike the same way it does for other carbs. The other great thing about beans is they're loaded with fiber. And so again, fiber is part of carbohydrate foods. However, it doesn't get absorbed the same way as other carbohydrates. So it's a really great option. So high fiber, high protein, and it's high in things like potassium. So Lynn, you were talking about salt and how to flavor your dishes without having to rely so much on salt. And so that's another great thing about this dish is sure there's going to be some salt involved, especially if you're using canned beans and things like that. And we can always look for the no salt added or the low sodium versions. However, that high potassium in the beans, it offsets the amount of sodium in your body. They kind of like a checks and balances in your body. And you may be familiar with that if you watch your blood pressure and you've talked with your doctor about it. Increasing potassium is a great way to manage blood pressure and overall heart health, and it really balances out when you're consuming sodium. So having potassium-rich foods with sodium-rich foods is a good strategy. And so the beans and the vegetables and everything in this dish that are high in fiber and potassium, it's going to offset that bit of sodium that's in there. So I really hope you try this dish. And the other great thing is you can really make it your own. So let me look at what questions we've got coming in here. All right, Lynn, this one's probably for you. So could the chili be made using a slow cooker? And if so, how would you prepare using the ingredients listed in the recipe?
Excellent question. I'm going to do slow cooker and Instant Pot. I've got an Instant Pot, and probably like 9 out of 10 of you ought to rarely use it. But the thing I like about the Instant Pot is you can saute vegetables in it before you get it going, if you will, with the steam. Slow cooker, it would work beautifully. What I would do is you could I would put everything in except for the beans. And just, do it on, you could do it overnight, or you could do it on, depending on, all the crock pots are different. But if you did it overnight, just make sure it's on low. And if you're going to do it for like 4 to 6 hours, you could do it on high. And then about 30 minutes before it's ready, I would add the beans. The beans, are already cooked. So, but it would be great in the slow cooker. And, may even, and I don't know if it would enhance the flavors or not, but make it easy on yourself. So by all means, this would be really great for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to use the raise hand button and we can take those now. I'm not seeing anything else, Lynn. Thank you so much for doing this for us. We really enjoy it each month. For those of you joining us, we're going to be doing this again November 17th. So it will be a Wednesday night at 6. And Lynn is going to be showing us how to make one of my absolute favorite things, a charcuterie board. So don't miss that for right before the holidays. That's going to be super fun. So we'll see y'all next time. Thank you everyone so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.